My name is Teresa Keo, and welcome to episode 4. Today is April 30th, and today the plan is to talk about first what I'm wearing, and then 4 mostly finished items. There are a fair number of projects that I haven't touched, so there's not too much point in talking about them. I haven't touched my lace weight hat that I was working on, nor the Hello Hugo Life cardigan, which in my last episode I had really been this close to unraveling. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do that. So I just let it lie for a while. We'll bring her out of hibernation at some point. But yeah, I've definitely been working on some other things. So for what I'm wearing today, the outer layer is the Eva Linen Tie top. Eva Linen Tie top. This is a pattern you can find on the fabricsstore.com, and then it'll come as a PDF download that you print out, tape together, cut the pattern pieces, and then sew. I did this a few years ago, maybe even, gosh, it must have been 3 or 4 years ago. That's wild to think about. It's also in a linen purchased from the fabric store. I believe it's in the shade Parchment, and I am not sure which weight of linen it is, but it is one of the most versatile and useful pieces in my collection. It keeps me warm when it's cold, and it keeps the sun off and me cool when it's warm out. So it's a fantastic piece. I'm really happy that this is something I have and can wear on a regular basis. I am planning to touch up the seams. Before I had my sewing machine refurbished, it would create some really wonky hems that held the fabric together, which is the main goal. But I think I'm gonna go over it with some embroidery, especially in the areas where it looks like the seam may be coming undone. Okay. Underneath, I've got the Ripple by Jessie Made Design, and this yarn was gifted to me by a friend, and it's in this fun yellowy blue green variegated color. There is some difference between where you're working shorter rows flat and when you're working in the round, but it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I think it's a really fun piece and great for layering under the Eva. So that is what I'm wearing today. Let's move into some mostly finished objects. This is the Mila hooded vest by Irene Lynn. And when Easily Knitfluenced put out her spring patterns, this was the one that I could not stop thinking about. And I just cast it on as that evening. I saw it and I knew that this was going to be a piece for me. It is a contiguous shoulder, ribbed armholes with a tubular bind off, a garter stitch button band, and what looks like an I-cord edge, but it's really double knitting. The hood here is comfortable, and I'm delighted with the yarn. This is a marled yarn from Flying Fibers. It's from their flock, and their herd is zero slaughter, so all the sheep get to live out their happy little lives. So I'm happy to be able to say what the yarn is. It's a mix. It's a 2-ply. It's got the white as a Wensleydale, which is one of the most fun sheep names to say. Wensleydale, quite delightful. And the dark chocolate brown is a ply of Shetland. And it's definitely rustic, but I don't mind it. Definitely more comfortable than wearing a piece with mohair. And I have not put the buttons on yet. I want to make sure that I get the right buttons for the piece to be happy with it. I also haven't blocked it yet, which is why this is not entirely a finished object, but it is so close. The knitting is done. The ends are woven in. All we need to do is add buttons and block her, and she'll be done. This was a quick knit. It's on an Aran weight yarn, and the first half of it felt quicker because you were always making progress through steps. The body I had to get into a flow on, but it definitely went quickly enough, and I'm super happy with the finished product. I think she's quite adorable. So we're gonna keep on wearing her. We're very happy with this finish. And I like that she chose garter stitch for the button band, because if I don't have the vest buttoned, it falls out, and then it's the same texture that you would have on the right side. The right side and the wrong side being reversible, it's okay for it to create a sort of shawl-like shape, and that added versatility is always fun. This is a piece I would consider making again. Yeah, it's definitely a cute pattern. And it has pockets. Yay. They are a little bit high up on the piece, like it's pretty close to my underarm, but I don't mind. I think it's totally fine. I did change how I did the pockets, however. The pattern says to pick up through the fabric in a certain way, and I didn't follow it. Um, I thought that it might be more stable to create the pocket flat and then seam it down, which definitely worked well enough. It would have been quicker to follow the directions, but it would have been picking up through just one strand on the base fabric, and I didn't like that idea as much as seaming, but I'm sure either way creates a fantastic finished result, and doing it the way that Irene Lynn recommends in the pattern would probably save you a little bit of headache. I've been on a Game of Thrones kick again, and I was falling asleep trying to figure out how to seam these pockets in, and it really wasn't complicated. I just used a match stitch, but being tired and focused on the show, it felt harder than it needed to be. It was quite silly. Yeah, it is a bit strange that since this wasn't in the last episode, I'm only talking about it for a short period of time. But in short, great pattern. I recommend it, and I'm happy with it. So let's move on to our next piece. The saga of Neville's dinner party vest is continuing. This is the first armhole ribbing I finished. The other armhole is still on. So for this armhole, I picked up one stitch in every stitch. And when I wear it, it's a little flary and floppy, so I'm going to undo it. I did this armhole. I wasn't happy with it, so I did this armhole, but I only picked up every other stitch. This time, I'm going to pick up every 3 out of 4, or every 2 out of 3, and hopefully that will create a happy medium where it's enough to not flare. Yeah, I don't want it to flare. I am pretty satisfied with the neckline pickup. I did change the directions. In the original pattern, you're instructed to work the entire neckline flat, so I'll be going back and forth, and then seam one layer over the other. So there would be a little seam right here. But I wanted central decreases, so I figured out how to do those. And I think it looks decent. Quite happy with it. Yeah, so once this armhole edging is figured out, when I get the right pickup ratio, and this will be done. The pattern says to knit it up on 4mm needles, and I used 3, which was, in my opinion, the correct decision for my gauge, like my personal attention. I would, if I were to make it again, add extra repeats to make the vest a bit bigger. It'll be a more form-fitted vest, which is not my intention, but it's still a really cute vest. And a part of the process of learning. She's so pretty. She's so pretty. But yeah, all that remains on the vest is to figure out the right armhole pickup and do that. I did have to do a little bit of work to make sure the 2x2 ribbing fit, but what I did was I'd pick up at whichever rate I was using, count my number of stitches, and on the next round increase or decrease as needed to achieve a multiple of 4. Yeah, and so that would make sure that my 2x2 ribbing works with the stitch count. Other than that, you know everything that there is to know about Neville's dinner party vest. It'll be interesting to work on styling. I think this over a black long sleeve or a short sleeve would work fairly nicely, but also could probably work with any other color that's in here. And we have a fair few. We've got linen-y grayish, an undyed, yellowy ochre, green, orange, burgundy, and black. So there are a lot of colors that I could pair with this, and I look forward to doing so. This is a better shot of how the vest looks with the ribbing. I am very happy that I went for a brown color on the ribbing instead of the intended gray that the designer used, which would look great on many people out there. But gray isn't my best color. I like it, but the brown definitely suits my personal coloring a little bit better. Okay, next. Okay, the second to last item to discuss is my Soho top by Kadri. Now she looks done. She's been washed. She's been dried in the washer. She fits well in all areas except for one. This is another project where the armhole has caused issues for me with the pickup rate. The first time I did it was similar to my vest. I picked up 1 stitch in every stitch, and it was wavy floppy. Then I did 2 out of 3, every 2 out of 3 stitches, and it's tight. She's up there. So I left it at that. I washed and dried, and I can wear, but I would definitely prefer it to be a little bit looser around the armhole. So when I convince myself to do it, I'll undo the armhole edging again and work with every 3 out of 4 stitches. I do think that'll make a nice happy medium for the armhole, and if not, I'm not sure that I would do it again. I'd probably leave it how it is as long as it doesn't show any undergarments at the armhole. As promised, I did bring my first version of this top, and just feeling it, the cotton has definitely loosened up over time and gotten softer. This is the same yarn brand. It's We Are Knitters the Cotton, but obviously this is a single color, and this is multicolors. And you can see the stripe pattern here. I might have enough yarn to lengthen this. It's very cropped and a very beachy, summery kind of piece for me. If I could make it longer, I think it would be great. But I'm also not sure whether I'm willing to go back in and fix something that works well enough. The side along the seam with changing color. This is the side that doesn't have the color change, and you can see it's a pretty consistent change. However, on the other side is a noticeable jog. So if you are planning to knit this top in stripes, I would recommend not doing the slipped stitch or figure out how to remove jogless stripes on a slip stitch edge, or be okay with a jogless stripe. But if you work stripes on this pattern as it's written, you will end up with a jog. Nonetheless, this has been well worn. It's comfortable, and I'm not sure what I did for the pickup around the armhole. This was pretty early in my knitting journey, so there are things on the inside of this I've noticed that I've filtered out through technique over time, but I definitely did not use the recommended needle size on this, and I didn't write down what it was. So, though I wish I could tell you what I did on the armhole and apply it myself to the current version, that's not a current option. So we'll just figure it out with this one and move on. I like this pattern a lot. Other than figuring out the armhole, it's a very well written pattern. I love that it is reversible. That's one of my favorites. You don't have to figure out which side is the front or back. You can just throw it on however you like. I have a question for all of you. How do you graft your I-cord around the beginning and end? So in this version, I tried to do a Judy's Magic cast on and then just Kitchener back when I came around to the beginning of round again. And in my head, it should work. I'm not sure why I'm ending up with this funny little bump. It might have something to do with the nature of I-cord, how it wraps itself, and I might just need to figure out which stitches to graft to where. Because in my head, a Judy's Magic cast on and then a Kitchener stitch should work. It should create an absolutely perfect seamless I-cord, but it hasn't happened yet. So please let me know, what do you do to create a seamless I-cord? Okay, our final not finished piece, but feels like a finished piece, is a little bit of hoop embroidery. I forget who I purchased this from on Etsy, but I got a whole pack of them years and years ago and just sort of picked it up the other day. Here we have a floofy stick that's made with French knots. The green leaves are a satin stitch. We have some lazy daisies. The white in the center is a French knot. And these bulbs, I suppose, are also all French knots. And then along this side here, we have brown French knots here, and at the end of these pokebits, for lack of actual terminology, and some satin stitch leaves. I think this is super cute. I've got a few others, and this hasn't been soaked yet to get rid of the blue outline designs yet, but right now my thought process is that once I've finished all of the embroideries, to turn them into pillows. I think that'd be super cute. Maybe different fabric backings, maybe all the same fabric backings and a zipper most likely, but I'm not sure. So that's why they're not finished. I do still have to wash off the outlines. Is that how you would say that? Would you say outline lines? That sounds silly. Wash off the blue, and figure out what it's going to become. And that wraps it up for the April podcast. It is going to be May tomorrow. We're coming to the end of the academic year, and that is very exciting. I look forward to seeing you in my next episode. I did start my professional Instagram, info@teresakio, and I don't post very often. I don't want to be someone who posts constantly because I like enjoying a moment more so than posting about it. But would definitely love for you to follow me there. I like the idea of using it for polls. I do have one poll up on my Instagram, so you can check that in my highlights. But hopefully I'll see you there. Hopefully I'll see you in the May episode. And I hope you have a great month. Please like and subscribe, all the things, and have a great day.